of right now. God said, I'm trying to bring stuff out of you that you don't have the ability to work at it yourself. And so if you really want to be strong in God, if you really want to be strong in God, God said, I'm going to make you strong, but it's not going to come by strength that you have available. I'm going to teach you how to pray when you don't feel like praying. I'm going to teach you how to sing when you don't feel like singing. I'm going to teach you how to believe when you don't have belief in you. Because when I get ready to do it, you're going to be able to say like David, I encouraged myself in the Lord. And that only comes through instability. Instability makes me better than I am. Instability. And so when we find out that God has given us instability so that he can complete and make us better, it brings us to the second thing. Second thing here. Second thing, we're done with crossroads here. Second thing, real important here. Completing and not competing. Write that down, it's important. Completing and not competing. Completing and not competing. Completing and not competing. It's real funny to consider the fact that God creates woman from man. She is a derivative of what God did in man. When I used to preach this, I preached it as though woman was created when she was taken from man, because the rib was removed, and we would think that God took the rib and started to institute and sculpt the woman. That's not true. It's not true at all. Not true at all. In fact, what we find here is that when woman is created, she's created inside of the man. Inside of the man. Before she's ever taken out of the man's body, she's already there. He didn't have to take the rib to sculpt her or form her or give her form. She was already formed in him. She took the rib out to present what it was he had already formed. Therefore, when God creates the woman, she is created inside of him. Okay, then you stay with me. I'm going to make this make some sense here in just a second. What it says is that when God removed the woman from the man, he didn't even pull all the woman out. He left some things inside of Adam that was Eve, because Adam didn't need some of the stuff pulled out. He needed some of Eve to remain inside of Adam, and he needed some of Adam to remain inside of Eve. So he did not pull all of Eve out of Adam. Why? We know this because when the Bible says that he created the woman, she did not even come with instructions. No manual. And how do you know how to operate something if there is no instructions? What it says is that there must be something intrinsic about it, that I already know how to function and operate something that I was not educated with, because the education is not outside of me. Woman works because man works. And so what God says is woman works best when man works best. Are you following me here? What God says is that if the man really wants to learn how to work the woman, then the man really needs to learn how to work himself. Because she's not going to be too much different than who you are. But it's the best of you, because I've already placed something inside of you that's going to galvanize and keep you in line. And so, and what God literally says, and he moves a little further here, is when he creates the woman, he creates the woman inside the man, pulls the woman outside the man. He says, this is a gift to you that's going to cover the weak places in your life. I'm going to cover your weakness. I'm going to cover your weak points and your vulnerabilities, because completing somebody is truly the ability, the strength and the ability of God. Only God can complete anybody. Nobody comes in here complete. Only God can complete you. And one of the challenges that we have, primarily when we enter crossroads, is that sometimes we will take our differences. Now listen to me. We will take our differences and we will use our differences for competition. For competition. You will compete with people. You will fight with people. You will compete because people are different than you. They think different than you. you. They look different than you. They sing different than you. They preach, they pray, they do everything. They come from different families. And if we are not careful, we will miss how people that are different than us, they look different, can actually bring the best quality of completion to who you are. Because God's design is that nobody in here is any different than the completer himself. When he says, I made both male and female in my image, and I both said both of them were good, that's exactly what I meant. Because I did not want to differentiate gender being competition. And what, oh my Lord, all right. Let me make it plain here. I got a problem with preachers who got a problem with women preachers. And I know that may go against everything that you've ever heard in church, everything that you've ever been taught, but that is doctrinal. That is not scriptural. That is doctrinal. That is something that some man got a problem with a woman and said a woman can't stand up here and say a word. Ain't my belief, ain't my philosophy. And because the Lord has so designed me to be the high priest, ain't nothing you say to me if I decide to have a woman come up in here and preach. You just choose not to come that day. But God had never said a woman could not preach. He never gave out any designations of office. He didn't do that. What God said was there are certain roles and responsibility that the man should play. There are certain roles and responsibility that the woman should play. But now when the man ain't playing the proper role, then somebody's got to do something so that the role can still be fulfilled. This is why God raises up judges in the Old Testament. These were women who had leadership quality, leadership capability, and leadership authority. Because while everybody else was running around doing their own thing, somebody that was woman said, God, if you can use anybody, use me. And I just came to tell you that if God could use the donkey, if he could use the donkey, the animal, the dumb animal, and he could use him to speak even great prophecy and words of encouragement, then he could use anybody he wants to use. And you don't have the right or the copyright to say what it is that God can and can't do. Because you didn't make it, you can't break it, and the crossroad is that you need to get beyond your psychological pathology that tells you and locks you up in a box about what God is and what God isn't. Because God is bigger than your pathology. He's bigger than everything that you've been taught. He's bigger than everything that you know. And when you start looking outside of what you know, what you've been taught, you will find that God even is there. One writer said, even in hell, God was there. He was in hell, a place that nobody thought he could go, no place that nobody thought he would be. He was even there because God is so far from our pathologies and minds, and nothing it can challenge who God is. Nothing can challenge who he is because he's not in competition with anybody. You're following me here. Are you listening to me? You're listening to me? All right, here we go. And one thing you need to understand, is there's nothing more tiresome, there's nothing more weary, there's nothing more adversarial than when you come into a place that you're always having to compete. You're always having to compete. That will tire you out quicker than almost anything that I can think of. If you are always having to compete, you will be tired, you will be frustrated, you will be on the verge of giving up. And why is it that you have to compete at your job? That's bad enough. You got to compete at work. You got to compete in school if you're in school. You got to compete with your family because somebody's saying that you love them more, they love you more. And so you're having to compete with affection with your family. You're having to compete with the attention for your children. You're having to compete and explain to this one that thing, and then you got to tell this one that thing. And so it's a constant competition. You're competing. Why is it that church folk have to come to church, the place where I should not have to come in here and compete to get into the presence of God? Why am I having